Captain Elena Vasquez stared at the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 100,000 enemy vessels formed a perfect spherical formation around her ship, the Pandora's Box. From the outside, it looked like a standard human destroyer, sleek, angular, bristling with conventional weapons. But appearances, as the Zephyrian Empire was about to learn, could be devastatingly deceiving. "They're hailing us, Captain," reported Communications Officer Lou, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Shall I put them through?" Elena nodded, her fingers unconsciously tracing the activation key for Protocol Omega, a key she had hoped never to use. On screen, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of War Commander Thexis of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lighting of his command bridge, and his four compound eyes fixed on Elena with predatory intensity. "Human vessel," Thexis's voice came through the universal translator with the mechanical precision of his species. "You are surrounded by the full might of our battle fleet. 100,000 ships against your pathetic single craft. Surrender now, and we will grant you the mercy of a quick execution." Elena leaned back in her command chair, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "War Commander Thexis, I presume? I'm Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Federation vessel, Pandora's Box, and I'm afraid I have some bad news for you." The alien's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his kind. "Bad news? Human, you face impossible odds. What could possibly be bad news for us?" "The bad news," Elena said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout, "is that you just threatened the wrong ship." Elena cut the transmission and turned to her small crew of 12. Each face reflected the same mixture of determination and barely contained terror. They all knew what the Pandora's Box really was, what sleeping monster lay in the depths of their seemingly ordinary vessel. "All hands, this is the captain," Elena announced over the ship's intercom. "We are initiating Protocol Omega. All crew to emergency stations. God help us all." The ship transformed around them. Bulkheads retracted with hydraulic hisses, revealing the true interior of humanity's most classified and most dangerous experiment. The Pandora's Box wasn't just a ship, it was a delivery system for the Reaper engine, a weapon so terrifying that the Terran Federation had debated whether building it constituted a crime against the universe itself. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, the ship's physicist and the Reaper engine's primary architect, moved to her station with practiced efficiency despite the tremor in her hands. "Quantum field generators coming online," she reported. "Dimensional barriers stable. We're ready to open." It was humanity's greatest secret and greatest shame. During the early days of space exploration, human scientists had discovered something in the void between dimensions entities that existed in the spaces where reality grew thin. Things that fed on matter, energy, and consciousness itself. Things that should never have been disturbed. But humanity, in its infinite curiosity and infinite foolishness, had found a way to weaponize them. "Engine status?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash. "All systems green," Chen replied. "The containment field is holding. The passengers are eager to be released." Outside, the Zephyrian fleet had arranged itself in a perfect killing formation. War Commander Thexis stood on his bridge, savoring what he believed would be an easy victory. The human ship hadn't moved, hadn't even raised shields. Clearly, they had accepted their fate. "All ships, prepare to fire," Thexis commanded. "Let us end this quickly and move on to more worthy prey." At that exact moment, the Pandora's Box opened. Reality tore open like fabric as the Reaper engine activated. The ship's hull split apart in carefully designed sections, revealing the massive dimensional gateway at its core. For a moment, there was only silence and the beautiful, terrifying sight of space itself bending around the vessel. Then the things from between came through. They had no name in any language, because no species that had encountered them had survived to name them. They were shadows given hunger, void given malevolence, the dark spaces between atoms made manifest and ravenous. They poured out of the dimensional rift in an endless stream, their forms shifting and changing as they adapted to three-dimensional space. The first Zephyrian ships to be touched simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, they were unmade, their matter and energy consumed by entities that existed beyond the normal laws of physics. The alien crews didn't even have time to scream before they were absorbed into something far worse than death. War Commander Thexis watched in horror as his perfect formation began to collapse. All ships, fire! Fire, everything! He screamed into his communicator, but it was already too late. The entities spread outward in an expanding sphere of annihilation, moving faster than light itself as they folded space around them. They were drawn to consciousness, to the spark of life that burned in every thinking being. The more complex the mind, the more delicious the feast. Elena watched the tactical display as the alien fleet was systematically devoured. Each red dot that winked out represented thousands of lives, entire ship crews consumed by humanity's most terrible creation. Part of her felt sick, but a larger part felt the cold satisfaction of a job well done. "Containment field status?" she asked. Holding steady, Chen reported, sweat beading on her forehead. "The recall beacon is active. They'll return when there's nothing left to feed on." It took exactly 17 minutes for 100,000 alien ships to be completely consumed. The entities, sated for the moment, responded to the recall beacon and flowed back through the dimensional gateway like a tide of living darkness. The rift sealed itself, space returned to normal, and the Pandora's box reassembled into its innocuous destroyer configuration. Where the Zephyrian Third Fleet had been, there was now only empty space and cosmic dust. Elena activated the long-range communicator and opened a channel to Zephyrian High Command. When the connection stabilized, she found herself looking at Supreme War Leader Kelthon himself, his four eyes wide with disbelief. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez," she said calmly. "I believe your War Commander Thexis wanted to speak with us about surrender terms. Unfortunately, he seems to have stepped away from his post permanently." The Supreme War Leader's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. "What? What did you do? An entire fleet? Gone?" "We opened Pandora's box," Elena replied. "And now you understand why humanity asked for peaceful relations in the first place. We're not warriors by nature, Supreme War Leader. We're much worse. We're innovators." She leaned forward, her eyes boring into the camera. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw all Zephyrian forces from human space. You're going to cease all hostile actions against the Terran Federation. And you're going to remember that humanity has more boxes like this one. Many more." The connection cut from the Zephyrian end. Elena slumped back in her chair, suddenly feeling every one of her 43 years. Around her, the crew worked in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had just witnessed and participated in. "Captain," Chen said quietly, "the entities are contained, but there. They tasted Zephyrian consciousness, and they liked it. They want more." Elena nodded grimly. "Then we'd better hope the Zephyrians are smart enough to leave us alone. Because God help us all if we ever have to open that box again." In the depths of the ship, something that had never been meant to exist stirred restlessly in its dimensional prison, dreaming of the feast it had just enjoyed and hungering for more. Humanity had won this battle, but at the cost of keeping a door open to something that should have remained forever sealed. The Pandora's box set course for home, carrying its terrible cargo through the silent stars. A reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't what you're fighting against, it's what you're willing to become to win.